So I want to look back at John Cena's One Night Stand 2006, right? I don't want to just take a look back at the match itself, but more so focus on how John Cena carried himself, how he conducted himself before and during the match, right? Because, mind you, this was a match where the John Cena hate had reached a boiling point. People at that night were ready to go in the ring with pitchforks if RVD would have lost to Cena. I mean, it was that bad for John Cena. You know what I'm saying? He was entering into an environment that was chaotic, kind of like out of a body experience. And this guy was not liked at all. And people were sick and tired of John Cena's push. They were not with him as the top babyface. But, this was an ECW crowd, and it just wasn't the John Cena hate. It's like at the time, ECW hated everything WWE. I mean, gosh, man, this crowd at one time, I don't know if it was actually this one night stand or the year before, but I recall them booing Rey Mysterio. And Rey Mysterio, I think, was world champ at the time. He was battling Sabu. And the fans, man, they were booing Rey Mysterio, man. I'm like, how do y'all boo Rey Mysterio? But like, you just knew the crowd itself was anti WWE, completely anti WWE. Any WWE talent that came through for One Night Stand, they just got booed mercifully out the damn building. Like, they loved Eddie Guerrero, they loved Benoit, they loved Chris Jericho, Mick Foley. They loved the Edge when they cost John Cena the match, right? And of course, they loved Tommy Dreamer, Rob Van Dam, Paul Heyman. Like, the ECW guys were going to get beloved, and because it was literally a homecoming type of party for ECW, and it was a success, right? But let me talk about how John Cena carried himself. He carried himself with a lot of confidence. I give John Cena a lot of credit for staying in there, hanging in there during a tough time where the fans absolutely hate you. And nothing you do will ever get them on your side. There is nothing John Cena could have done to get this audience on his side. And him throwing the t-shirt and the fans throwing it back, that told you everything right there. That okay, this is going to be a rough night for Cena, right? But I have to commend him for handling it very well, even playing off the heat that he was getting. So basically, he was a heel of the entire match. And I thought he did a good job of pivoting, knowing that the audience is against him. There's no way how he can win this audience over. And I'm glad that night he had enough self awareness to realize, hey, RVD is the golden boy in this match. He's the hero. I am the villain. So let me play the villain. Let me, completely suck the life out of this crowd by beating up RVD. And there was a point in the matchup where John Cena sucked the life out of that crowd. When he was getting the offense on RVD and he threw the steel steps into RVD, that crowd, you can hear a pin drop. because they were so damn quiet. And the audience was like, man, I hope this guy doesn't win. And you can feel the frustration of the audience. That's how real it was that night. And I thought Cena did a great job with creating doubt that if RVD was going to win or not. And, him playing the baby face, him playing the top face, he's supposed to be the poster child. In this situation, he was not supposed to be this hated, right? I don't know if John Cena knew coming in that he was going to be hated like this, right? That's not normal for anyone to just walk into a building, walk into an arena, a room, and everybody hates you. Everybody wants to rip your face off, right? That's not easy because most people would just cower and just run away from conflict like that. But he stuck in there and was a professional that night and did his job and stood in the fire. He stood in the crossfire for the most part. And pretty much I just want to show some respect to his professionalism during this match. Like, I get it. It's very easy to shit on John Cena all the time because that was the coolest thing to do back in the day, was to shit on John Cena, to bury him because of his minimal, limited in-ring, his in-ring work, right, was very limited, and it wasn't anything exciting to watch, right? His awkwardness a lot of times kind of threw you off. And it did the same thing with me, right? I couldn't stand watching a guy work in that ring. But I have to admit, as a performer, as a character, he knew how to garner interest. And he knew how to make you care one way or the other. So even though you hated watching him in the ring, you still listened to his promos, you still cared about his character to a certain degree. We can hate John Cena all we want, but most of us were still watching when he was still on top. When he was on top during his prime, a lot of people were still watching the WWE. 2.3 million people were still watching, if not more, right? And him as the top guy did better numbers than Roman Reigns on top. Cody Rhodes on top, his first year on top. So, we still cared enough to maybe see John Cena lose, or to see who's going to feud with him. But the key thing is he knew how to make you care, right? Because most of us were still watching. And he was good at promos. He's always been a good talker. And that came from him finding his character, finding his identity in the white rapper gimmick, right? That's where he found himself. And that was a time when he was, really honing in on his craft and getting better at talking. But that's the thing. John Cena was always a great talker. Regardless if people want to admit it or not, he could talk you into a building. He can talk you into being interested in whatever it is that he's doing. But the result is not always the best when it comes to in the ring. right? Like John Cena has had good matches in terms of storytelling, in terms of anticipation and fan interaction. Definitely nothing technical, that's for sure. Hardly any athleticism. Like, we're not talking Bret Hart, AJ Styles greatness. No, 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 no. But I'll give John Cena credit for being a good showman in the ring. Like, I'll give him that. I think a showman in the ring is very important because that is a type of wrestler that can get people excited for the match. Even though we know going in the match is not going to be a technical wrestling masterpiece. It's going to be far from, you know, a stellar performance. No. Like, we're not talking Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit here, you know. But most of John Cena's matches, there was excitement going in and a lot of fanfare because you still had kids that loved John Cena. You still had adult women that loved John Cena, even younger men that loved John Cena. So he still had a wider fan base that cared. And I guarantee you that if he did not have the fan base that he had, Vince McMahon would have not pushed him the way he did. Right? But looking back at one night stand 2006, that's when we all knew the John Cena hate was real. And obviously, as you mature, you learn to respect how he conducted himself, how he carried himself before and during the match, and how much of a professional he was during this whole match and during this whole situation. So props to Cena, looking back, for keeping his cool and not not stroking, not croaking under pressure. Because I think any other performer, like any other wrestler, would have probably croaked under pressure in that situation. So, that being said, like, share, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts.